Welcome to the Opportunity Zones podcast. I'm Jimmy Atkinson, and in today's episode, I want to give you my thoughts on the state of the Opportunity Zones industry and marketplace as we start the new year, 2024. Plus, I'll present a recording of an OZ Insiders webinar that I hosted on January 4th, titled How to Invest in Opportunity Zones in 2024. First, let's dive into the state of Opportunity Zones as we begin the new year. A quick recap of Opportunity Zones now for anybody new or anybody who could use a refresher. 2024 will mark year 6 for Opportunity Zones. That's right, year 6. OZs came into law as part of the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Now, investment didn't really begin until the following July of 2018. That's when the map of Opportunity Zones was finalized by the Treasury Department. So OZs turned 6 years old this summer. Fast forward a few years, we got the final regulations from IRS about 4 years ago. So we now have a much more mature marketplace. There's hundreds of funds that are raising capital for Opportunity Zones. A lot of money has poured into the program already. And we're finally seeing the fruits of this tax incentive. Buildings are going online. Businesses are actually up and running. And it's no longer just a bunch of numbers on a page or a pro forma or pitch deck with crazy projections. Stuff is actually getting built. Stuff is actually happening. But Opportunity Zones, it is a perishable tax incentive. The expiration is going to start, or the sunsetting will start at the end of 2026. In order to be eligible for the full tax benefit of Opportunity Zones, you actually needed to invest in Opportunity Zones prior to the end of 2019. Some provisions have expired already. The biggest provision, the exclusion of capital gains taxation on the back end after a 10-year hold, plus the elimination of depreciation recapture, still very much alive for any new investments that occur for gains that are triggered before the end of 2026, as long as they're rolled over into a qualified opportunity fund within 180 days of gain recognition. So now with recognition required by the end of 2026, we really have less than 3 years to go. You have less than 3 years to trigger a gain in order for it to be qualified as a qualified opportunity fund investment. Now, of course, I mentioned a minute ago, in order to get the full tax benefit, you need to have been invested before the end of 2019. There was a 15% basis step up that expired at the end of that year. At the end of 2021, a 10% basis step up expired. But for years 2022 through the end of 2026, actually into 2027, you still have access to the biggest and best tax incentive that there is, which is no capital gains taxation on the subsequent Opportunity Zone investment, so long as you hold the investment for at least 10 years. Also in 2023, we did get extension and reform legislation reintroduced. That happened in September 2023 in the House. I'm going to touch on that in just a moment. Overall, looking at the entirety of the program since inception, Opportunity Zones, in my mind, and in the minds of many others, have been far more successful than anyone had initially predicted. The Treasury Department, when the program was first being rolled out, projected that it would become a $100 billion program. I think I can confidently say now that well over $100 billion in equity has already been raised so far. Some projections put it closer to $150 billion, but somewhere in that $100 to $150 billion range, I believe, is where we are in terms of the amount of equity that's been raised by qualified opportunity funds so far. It's by far, I think, the greatest tax incentive ever created, but it's also by far the largest economic development program in U.S. history. By the way, if any of this is going over your head, if you're new to Opportunity Zones, if you haven't listened to a lot of my podcasts, or maybe this is the first time you're listening to any of my podcasts or watching any of my podcasts, you'd like to learn more, we have free resources available on our website at OpportunityDb.com, the Opportunity Zones database. We offer a free beginner's guide. If you'd like to download that, just head on over to OpportunityDB.com/download. Getting back to equity raising volume, good news is, as a whole, the program has surpassed all expectations to date. Bad news is 2023 was a pretty down year by any measurement. Not nearly as strong as 2021 or 2022. The economy was in a little bit of turmoil. We had high recession. We had interest rates going way up. M&A transaction volume was sharply down. According to S&P Global Insights, total M&A transaction volume was down 32% year over year. Real estate transaction volume was even worse. It was also down very sharply. According to CBRE, US commercial real estate investment volume fell by 54% year over year. And as a result, there were just far fewer capital gains realized for Opportunity Zone investment. According to Novogradac compiles data on OZ equity raising on a rolling basis, and they present the data every quarter. Q4 data for 2023 is not yet available, but if you compare the first 3 quarters of 2022 to the same period in 2023, the first 3 quarters of both those years, equity raising by Opportunity Zone funds was down 62% year over year. It frankly just wasn't a great year for OZ equity raising. Now, there is some good news on the horizon. The S&P 500 was up nearly 25% in 2023. It ended the year just a fraction of a percentage point away from an all-time high. Basically, the stock market was way up last year. I believe now more than ever before, Opportunity Zones are a very attractive option for stock market investors with highly appreciated equity portfolios. Look, if your stock market portfolio is way up over the last year, you may be overweight in stocks. This is the same story I was telling a couple years ago, by the way, after the COVID-19 recovery. I'm telling the same story again here at the beginning of 2024. It's just a bit of a different time, but the fact of the matter remains, if you haven't rebalanced your stock portfolio in some time, now might be a very good opportunity for you to rebalance. You're probably overweight in stocks, take some chips off the table. And I think Opportunity Zones present a really compelling option for that stock market investor with highly appreciated low basis stock gains. And unlike real estate investors who could do a 1031, stock market investors don't really have that option. I think Opportunity Zones make a great landing spot for certain stock market investors. The other good piece of good news is the economy appears to have not crashed into a recession in 2023, which went against a lot of pundits, including myself. I thought we would probably be in a recession by now, but looks like, at least at the moment, we've avoided one. Interest rates are likely to come down later this year, which could also drive additional transaction volume in real estate. We may see that transaction volume in the real estate industry pick up considerably in 2024 and beyond if rates are to come down a little bit. All of this to say, I think 2024 is a really pivotal year for Opportunity Zones. There are gains out there, and the realization of those gains, I think, should be on the way in much greater volume than what we saw in 2023. Now, a few minutes ago, I mentioned Opportunity Zone reform legislation. I want to briefly touch on that. The Opportunity Zones Improvement, Transparency, and Extension Act would extend Opportunity Zone tax policy by an additional 2 years, essentially pushing back that deferral date or that deadline from year-end 2026 to year-end 2028. Now, unfortunately, it's been introduced into Congress a couple of times now. It hasn't passed yet. We've gotten through the end of 2023, and 2024 being a presidential election year, I don't think it's likely to happen that this legislation is going to get packaged into a big tax extension bill anytime in 2024. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it gets passed the minute I press go on this podcast, or maybe something will happen in a lame duck session of Congress. But I think what's much more realistic is that this comes together at some point in 2025. That could be disappointing to a lot of you out there. It's disappointing to me as well. Fact of the matter is, Congress has bigger agenda items on hand than Opportunity Zones and even than just general tax legislation, apparently. But the groundwork at least has been laid by Congress in the form of this bill. And now the industry really just needs a tax legislation bill to become the vehicle for it so it gets pushed through. Much of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that President Donald Trump signed into law at the end of 2017 is actually expiring at the end of 2025. Some stuff is expiring in 25, some in 26. Opportunity Zones is a very small part of that TCJA, and that is one provision that's expiring at the end of 2026. But I think there's going to be some urgency from some parties in Congress to get those TCJA provisions extended, renewed in some way before they expire at the end of 2025. So I really think year-end 2025 would be a much more realistic timeline and time for a tax legislative vehicle to come through, to possibly be a vehicle for Opportunity Zones to ride inside. And finally, fingers crossed, we'll get that Opportunity Zone provision extended and reformed sometime in 2025. I'm hopeful it happens sooner, cautiously optimistic, but I think more realistically, probably 2025 is going to be that next best opportunity. By the way, if you're interested in learning a lot more about that, Shay Hawkins, who is formerly tax policy advisor for Senator Tim Scott and is today founder and president of the Opportunity Funds Association, he is going to be presenting an OZ Insiders Masterclass to our OZ Insiders members next month. He's going to cover this legislation in great detail. That meeting is going to occur on Monday, February 12th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. It's available for all OZ Insiders members. To learn more, visit ozinsiders.com. For those who are not aware, OZ Insiders was launched toward the end of 2023 as my brand new mastermind group for high-performing opportunity zones, professionals, and investors. We're going to be working a lot this year to grow this group considerably in 2024. We get together every month with online meetings and masterclasses, and we also are going to have 2 or 3 in-person dinners in 2024. You're going to learn a lot more about OZ Insiders, why you might be a great fit for it. If you want to learn more, please visit ozinsiders.com. Now, additionally, in 2024, through OpportunityDB, I'm going to host 3 live events that will showcase some of the country's best opportunity zone funds and deals. Just like in previous years, it's OZ Pitch Day. OZ Pitch Day is my free live online event. Like I mentioned, we run it 3 times a year. We've done 10 of them now. If you're an investor, it's a great event to learn more about how sophisticated investors are using qualified opportunity funds in their portfolios, and you can discover your next opportunity zone investment there. Our first OZ Pitch Day event of 2024 will be the spring event taking place on March 7th, 2024. Now, we're also going to run a summer session on June 13th, 2024, a little earlier than usual. In past years, we had done that one in July, but we got some feedback to move it up a little bit. So technically, it's still in the spring before the summer solstice, but we're calling it the summer one anyway. It's after Memorial Day, so I think we can get away with it. June 13th, 2024 is our summer session. Finally, we're going to wrap up with our year-end OZ Pitch Day. Our fall event will take place November 7th, 2024. So save those dates. You can learn more and register by visiting ozpitchday.com. Happy New Year to all of my listeners and viewers out there. Really great to have you here joining me for another year of Opportunity Zone coverage here in 2024. Please subscribe to us on YouTube or your favorite podcast listening platform to always get the latest episodes of the Opportunity Zones podcast. You can also head to opportunitydb.com/podcast to subscribe to the show and read the show notes for the latest episodes. And now, please enjoy this recording of the first OZ Insiders webinar of the year, How to Invest in OZ Deals in 2024. Welcome, everybody. Today's webinar is titled How to Invest in Opportunity Zone Deals in 2024. I'm Jimmy Atkinson, founder of OpportunityDB, host of OZ Insiders, and also host of the Opportunity Zones podcast. We got enough people here. Let's go ahead and dive right in. I'm going to share my screen here. I'm going to teach you about how to invest in OZ deals in 2024. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit more about OZ Insiders, and then we'll save time for some questions. So without further ado, let's talk about 2024. First of all, Happy New Year to everybody. Happy New Year to all my Opportunity Zone friends and followers on this platform. It's great to see you here in the new year. Let's go ahead and dive in. Now, before today's session ends, I'm going to show you 5 key things, really. 1, key Opportunity Zone dates and deadlines to consider in 2024. 2, I'll show you how to invest in Opportunity Zones, what you need to get going, and the different ways to participate in Opportunity Zone investments. 3, some best practices for structuring Opportunity Zone deals within your own qualified opportunity fund, whether you are a syndicator or a fund operator or a developer, or you're an investor who is looking for your own deals and you have your own QOF for whatever reason. I'll show you some best practices for structuring those OZ deals within the structure of a qualified opportunity fund. Number 4, we'll go over an overview of my new mastermind group, OZ Insiders, and then plus why it might be a good fit for you. Now, for those who stay until the end, I have a special offer that's good today only for any new OZ Insider members who join our group today. I'll get to that at the very end of today's presentation. A legal disclaimer before I officially get going here. This is not investment advice. In fact, nothing we do at OpportunityDB or OZ Insiders should be construed as investment advice, investment services, legal advice, legal services, tax advice, or tax services. Please consult a professional advisor before making any investment or tax decisions to consult your specific advice about your situation. I think this is a great moment in time for Opportunity Zone investors or syndicators or fund operators or developers who are looking to raise OZ equity. And this chart really explains it all. This is a chart of the S&P 500. I just grabbed it minutes ago, right before we went live. The S&P 500 is currently at 4,700 and change. It's within 100 points of an all-time high. It's up 86% over the last 5 years. An incredible bull run that the S&P 500 is on. There's a couple of dips in there. You can see here, early 2020, we had the COVID dip. Throughout the 2022, there was a bit of a bear market here, or a recession, almost recession. Kind of depends who you ask whether we were officially in a recession or a bear market or not. It was close, but we've since pulled out of it. The stock market was up huge in 2023. All of this is to say, Opportunity Zones, being a capital gains tax-based, tax incentive-based program, there's a lot of capital gains locked away in the stock market. I know interest rates are high, investor sentiment is low, M&A transaction volume is down, real estate transaction volume is down. But if you're a stock market investor, by the way, not even to say what's happened with Bitcoin over the last year, you can pull up that chart on your own. If you're a stock market investor or a crypto investor, you likely have some huge gains locked in, depending on when you got into the market, but there's a good chance that you or your would-be investors have some pretty sizable gains that they'd like to shelter. This might be a great year for stock market investors to rebalance their portfolio, take some chips off the table. They might have some gains. You might have some gains that you wish, or that your investors wish to shelter with Opportunity Zone investments. So I just like to use that chart to kind of paint a picture for everybody and give a little more context to what we're talking about today. So Opportunity Zone investments in 2024, there's really three ways that I like to look at this about why you might be interested in learning how to invest in Opportunity Zones in 2024. Number one method, you have a capital gain and you want to be an LP in someone else's fund. So that's the first bullet point here. Capital gain, you're an LP in a third-party QOF. You write a check over to a fund operator who has a qualified opportunity fund. They're raising equity from outside investors, and they're taking that equity and they're deploying it into one or more Opportunity Zone deals all around the country. Second way I like to look at is you have a capital gain and you want to put together your own deals. You want to be a GP or general partner in your own captive QOF. You're not necessarily interested in raising money from any outside investors, or not a lot of outside investors. Maybe just with one or two business partners, maybe with friends and family. But for the most part, it's a captive qualified opportunity fund. It's a self-funded qualified opportunity fund. I'll show you a bit about those first two methods here in a minute. And then the third different way I like to look at Opportunity Zone investing is you might be interested in Opportunity Zone investing not because you have a gain to invest, although certainly you might as well, but you're raising OZ equity from others. So you want to leverage the Opportunity Zone incentive in order to draw in more investors to your venture capital business, your startup business, or any type of real estate deal that you're trying to put together. By the way, these three methods aren't mutually exclusive, right? I know some investors that are doing a little bit from all three of these buckets. They have a capital gain, so they're going to write a check over to a third-party QOF to manage that for them, but they're also putting together their own deal, and then they're also raising OZ equity from others. You can certainly kind of dip into all three of these buckets. So let's talk about the first bucket, investing in a third-party QOF. You have a qualified opportunity, you have a capital gain, essentially. Maybe it's from the sale of highly appreciated stock. Maybe it's from the sale of Bitcoin or some other cryptocurrency. Maybe it's from a real estate transaction. And you want to shelter that gain. You want to defer recognition of that gain until the end of 26. You want to be able to not pay taxes on any subsequent gain within an opportunity zone investment, but you're not really interested in being a GP. You don't really want to manage the deal or source the deal yourself. You don't want to deploy the capital. You just want to simply write a check to one of these big fund operators and let them handle the deal, let them handle the administration of the fund. It's likely going to cost you a point or two in fees, but it's for someone who just wants to be a passive investor, this is a great way to do it. So we have two resources. I've got screenshots of both of them on our website. We have a directory of opportunity zone funds with different filtering options. Currently, we have over 140 different opportunity zone funds that are listed on our website. You can find that platform by heading to db.opportunitydb.com. Or if you're just on our homepage, opportunitydb.com, just hit the funds text link in the top nav, and it'll take you right over there. Another service we offer for these types of people who, high net worth investors, advisors, family offices who don't want to manage their own deal, but they just want to write a check and ride alongside with these operators who are managing the fund, is our OZ Pitch Day event. So 3 times a year, spring, summer, and fall, we do a big day-long event where we showcase up to 12 different qualified opportunity funds that are raising capital from high net worth investors. So you can head to ozpitchday.com to learn more, or if you're at our homepage, opportunitydb.com, just hit the OZ Pitch Day link in that top nav. This screenshot is the on-demand version of the OZ Pitch Day event that we just hosted back in November, about 2 months ago now. Our next event is going to be in March, and we're going to get the sign-up page for that up on our website in January. If you're here right now, or you're listening to us later on, chances are you follow me. If you don't follow me, please do follow me, and we'll get that announcement out to our email subscribers and our website followers a little bit later this month when that form goes live. We'd love to see you there at OZ Pitch Day. There's two other buckets for folks who are interested in opportunities and investing. You might be investing in your own captive QOF, like I said before, basically funding your own deal as a GP and then sourcing that deal and deploying the capital, just a smaller deal with fewer investors. Maybe you're the only investor, or you're raising OZ equity from other investors. So you're essentially the fund manager and the GP, and you're raising from outside investors. Maybe you have some skin in the game of your own. Maybe you have a capital gain that you're deploying into that deal, but for example, maybe you need $20 million of equity. You've got $5 million of your own capital gain you're pouring in, but then you need to raise $15 million more equity on top of some debt financing you're doing. Total project cost, let's say it's $50 million. I'm just making these numbers up, but that's one type of capital stack. You're coming in with some of your own money, but you still need to raise from some outside investors. So whether you fall into that second bucket, investing in your own captive QOF, or if you're raising OZ equity from others, it's helpful to know how to structure opportunity zone deals. And recently, just last month at OZ Insiders, we hosted a masterclass on just this topic. It was taught by Ashley Tyson at OZ Pros, and I've borrowed or stolen one of his slides. This is Ashley Tyson's big slide. All credit to Ashley Tyson. He developed this slide. I've blurred out the text on the sides, not because I don't want you to know about it. We actually have this resource available, but mainly I just wanted to simplify this chart for this presentation. I want to keep it very simple because Ashley he can spend 30 to 60 minutes on this slide alone. I just want to spend a couple minutes on it today just to show you exactly how an opportunity zone deal should be structured. Now I'm going to back up a couple of slides. And if you're this first bucket, if you're investing in a third-party QOF, if you're just writing a check to somebody like Urban Catalyst or Caliber or Origin Investments or Capital Square or GTIS Partners or any other type of larger qualified opportunity fund that's raising capital from third-party investors, this chart, you don't really need to know about it. But if you fall in, although it's helpful to know about it, if you fall into one of these other two buckets, you absolutely should get to know this chart. And you should probably talk to Ashley at some point too. But essentially, at the top here, you have investors, this blue oval. And these investors typically will be capital gains investors. Now, caveat there, they don't have to be capital gains investors. If you are as an investor, or if your investors come in with non-capital gains dollars, you're perfectly able to do so. Just know that non-capital gains money is not able to take advantage of any of the tax incentives associated with opportunity zone investing. Not a single one. So you can put ordinary money into a QOF, but it doesn't get any of the tax advantages whatsoever. So typically you're going to see investors with capital gains are the ones that you'll target as an equity raiser, or that you may have already as the self-captive QOF holder. This is the top layer right here. That money, in order to fully qualify, in fact, in order to qualify at all for any of the opportunity zone tax treatment, absolutely has to flow directly into a qualified opportunity fund first. This qualified opportunity fund is essentially just an entity that, a non-disregarded entity that chooses or self-elects to be taxed as a qualified opportunity fund. There's no red tape you have to cut through. There's no hoops you have to jump through, other than this qualified opportunity fund files one additional form with its tax return every year, and that's IRS Form 8996. Typically, this is an LLC. It's not always an LLC. There are some S Corps or C Corps around. There's some QOFs that are structured as REITs that set up as C Corps. But like 90 to 95% of the time, I would say this is just structured as an LLC partnership, and it cannot be a disregarded entity. So it can't be a single member LLC. It has to be a multi-member LLC. That's the one hook here. You can't truly do this all on your own. Oftentimes, someone will bring in a minority partner with 0.01% holding interest in the QOF, and that's perfectly fine to do so. From there, the next layer is, and this is often called a two-tier structure, because a QOF can bypass this green triangle here and invest directly into property. But more often than not, you're going to want to set up another corporate structure, another company structure, another entity is what I'm trying to say, underneath that, this orange triangle QOF. That's this green triangle QOF here, the portfolio company, or the hold co, essentially. And that is the qualified opportunity zone business. And that business entity, which again is most of the time structured as just an LLC, and has an operating agreement with language in it that says it's going to be treated as a qualified opportunity zone business per the legislation in the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Just one or two sentences you really need in that operating agreement, just to kind of belt and suspenders the thing for a future audit. Fingers crossed that never happens, but at least if it does, you have that language in your operating agreement. That's always helpful. The QOZB doesn't file any special form. In fact, if you do file as a QOZB, Form 8996, then the IRS thinks you're a QOF. So you actually don't want to do that. You just file normally, just as any normal LLC partnership would. This QOZB is then the company that directly holds the underlying assets, the real estate project or portfolio of projects that the fund investors are investing in, and or any business entities, startups, or ventures that the QOF investors are investing in. So this is essentially, at a high level, what this whole thing looks like. An investor, a U.S. taxpayer triggers a capital gain, becomes an investor with, and then flows capital gains dollars into a QOF. The QOF then will deploy capital into a QOZB, and the QOZB then deploys capital into the actual QOZBP, or QOZB, Qualified Opportunity Zone business property. The QOF needs its own entity, its own bank account, its own EIN, and so does the QOZB. And that's essentially it. That's Opportunity Zones on a page. Very brief. Again, many thanks to Ashley Tyson for letting me steal this. I don't know if he let me steal it. I just did steal it, but I'm giving him full credit. And we have this available as a resource within OZ Insiders. If you're a member or if you want to become a member, we have access to this full slide. Let's go over some key dates for 2023 and 2024. And then I want to tell you more about OZ Insiders and whether or not you might be a good fit for it. So some key, by the way, in the teaser slide earlier and in some of the email communication I was writing earlier this week, I promised I was going to give some key dates for 2024. And then I realized, well, there's two sets of key dates. There's key dates for tax year 23 and tax year 24. So I've got two slides on this section here, and I'll try to go through these quickly because I do want to be able to talk to you more about OZ Insiders and then get to some questions. But let's talk about tax year 23 first and the key dates to keep in mind. So tax year 23, December 31st, what was that? Less than a week ago was the last date to generate a gain in 23. And then you have 180 days to take any gain that you generate and roll it over into a qualified opportunity fund. Now, what's of interest this year is February 29th exists this year because it's a leap year. So it kind of pushes a couple of the deadlines forward one day. Just keep that in mind. March 15th of this year is when the partnership tax return is due. That's important. I'll get to that in a minute. April 15th is when the individual tax returns are due. So ideally, if you're going to take a 23 gain and invest it into a qualified opportunity fund, you do so before this April 15th date. You don't necessarily need to. And in fact, sometimes it's very hard to be able to figure out that you can do that. Oftentimes, and by the way, if you're a high net worth investor or a family office, you probably are extending your tax return every year. That's what I do. That's what all my partners do, and a lot of my colleagues do. So the April 15th date is just kind of your best guess. And then you filed your final tax return in October 15th. So the dates in between there then are these two key dates here that revolve around opportunities on investing. June 27th of 2024 is the final date to invest a 23 gain into a QOF. Now, by the way, this is if you trigger the gain on exactly December 31st. This is basically like the final date that for a gain that was triggered on December 31st, you have until June 27th to invest those dollars into a QF. Now, unless you have a gain from 23 that was generated on a partnership K1 return. Now, if you have a gain from 23 generated on a partnership K1 return, your 180-day clock can start ticking on a variety of different dates. But the two most common dates is one, the date when the gain was actually triggered. So if you triggered a gain on January 1st of 2023, you would have until, what was it? June 29th of 2023 to invest that gain, hypothetical example. But if that gain was generated through a partnership K1, then you can actually elect a different date. You can actually elect the due date of the partnership tax return as the start of your 180-day clock. Not a lot of people know this. This is kind of a weird esoteric rule. So if you generated a gain at any point in time during 2023 on a partnership K1 return, let's say it was generated on January 1st, 2023. Normally you'd have until toward the end of June to roll that gain over into a QOF. But instead, you can elect to use March 15th, 2024 as the date when you first start that clock ticking. Well, now that buys you an extra 180 days. And now the final due date, normally September 11th, but this year, because it's a leap year, September 10th of 2024 would be your final date to invest 2023 K1 gains. That buys you a ton of time. I mean, it's essentially, what is January 1, 23 through September 10, 24? That's way over 180 days, right? That's over a year and a half. So you have a lot of time there. And then October 15th is when the your tax return, your extended tax return is due. The dates are very similar for 24. I won't belabor these points here, but these June and September dates are a little bit different because it's not a leap year next year. So those are some of the key dates for tax year 23 and tax year 24, which takes us through 25. I want to take a moment now to tell you a little bit about OZ Insiders. Maybe you've heard about it. Maybe you sat in on one of our previous webinars before. If you have, this might be a little bit repetitive, although we do have some new news to share. But OZ Insiders was founded by myself. Andy Hagans is my co-founder. We founded OZ Insiders to be the go-to place for high-performing opportunity zone professionals, executives, and investors who want to take their opportunity zone strategy to the next level and to stay relevant and to stay in the know on all things opportunity zones. Now, first of all, quick disclaimer here, neither accepting opportunity zone equity nor joining OZ Insiders as a member will ever take a bad deal and make it good or make it pencil, right? That makes sense. Doesn't that make sense? Like I can't take a bad deal of yours, slap some lipstick on a pig and make it good. So you're not going to instantly close out your funding round. Or, I'm not instantly waving a magic wand and making bad opportunity zone funds good deals, right? That makes sense. Don't you think that makes sense? But what can OZ Insiders do for you? I promise you that it will drive your opportunity zone strategy forward and unlock new growth without wasting time on dead ends. Essentially, OZ Insiders is a shortcut to get to that next level of opportunity zone execution. And oftentimes we hear 3 different challenges from people who follow us, whether they're listening to our podcast or they're writing me an email because they're subscribed to our email list. Talking to people on the phone, different fund managers or accountants or attorneys or syndicators or real estate developers. The 3 challenges I hear, one, no one is facing my unique problem. Oh, I've got this really unique problem. I invested in this property before I set up the QOF, or we've got this deal across the street from a census tract, or I've heard it all, right? Challenge number 2 is opportunity zones. They're too confusing. It's too new. It's too hard to find the true experts who know how to execute. Everything just takes longer with OZs. And then the third challenge that I hear a lot is it's really hard to stay in the know on the latest trends and best practices. Like where do I keep up with all this stuff? Where do I keep up with legislative efforts? Where do I keep up with successful fund launches, closes, raises, deployments? Where do I keep up with best practices? So challenge number 1, let's address that one. No one else is facing my unique OZ problems. We have been there and we've done that. We have over 20,000 people on our OpportunityDB email list. We have fielded just about every question about opportunity zones that you can imagine. And if we haven't heard it before, I know somebody who has. We have a pretty extensive Rolodex, which I'll get to in a minute. Challenge number 2, and this is a big problem, by the way, that I hear about a lot. Hard to find the true experts who have deep expertise. Everything takes too long with opportunity zones. And that can be true if you don't know where to turn. But actually, finding the right professionals can be easy. It's easy for us, at least. We've been operating in opportunity zones industry since the very beginning in 2018. I started OpportunityDB in August of 2018, just a couple weeks after the zones were first designated. And I've been building up my Rolodex ever since. And we have almost 300 episodes of our podcast, and the guests on those podcasts have been great resources. So we're basically your shortcut for what used to take a long time. Finally, challenge number 3 that I hear a lot of with opportunity zones is that it's hard to stay in the know. Nobody's covering opportunity zones. Nobody's putting together best practices on opportunity zones. Nobody's covering the latest trends on opportunity zones. That's just not true. That's why we're here, right? The OZ Insiders Network is a community of experts and a community of fellow opportunity zone practitioners that's really helping everybody within the network stay in the know. I'm doing that as the leader of OpportunityDB and the host of the Opportunity Zones podcast and the host of OZ Insiders, but it's not just me, it's all of the people in our network as well. So now let me ask you a question. Is it all right if I tell you a little bit more about OZ Insiders and what it is and what's inside it? Does anybody want to hear about what else OZ Insiders can do and what's inside OZ Insiders, what it is exactly? Who wants to hear it? You want to hear it? So here's what you're going to get when you join OZ Insiders. We got John Stewart raise his hand. Thanks, John. I think everybody's raising their hands like this, maybe. I can't see them, but I trust that they're out there. Here's what you're going to get when you join OZ Insiders. You're going to get access to our Rolodex. So I've hinted at this before. I've been working within opportunity zones for, well, it's almost 6 years now because it's 2024. I started in 2018. It's closer to 5.5 years. We'll get to 6 years soon enough. But I was there on the ground floor from the very beginning, And I've been going, I don't know how many conferences I've been to, dozens of different conferences and meetings over the last 5.5 years, meeting with dozens, if not hundreds of different opportunities on practitioners, CPAs, attorneys, developers, syndicators, fund managers, investors. I know a lot of people in the space, so I can help get you plugged into the people that you need to get plugged into, no matter what your issue might be. Here's what else you're going to get. You're going to get live monthly master classes. So we've already started teaching these. We've done 2 of these already. We just launched in November. So we've done the November masterclass and we've done the December masterclass. Our next masterclass is coming up on Monday, this upcoming Monday, actually. Just 4 days from now, January 8th. It'll be with Andrew Daup, and he's going to be presenting a masterclass on Opportunity Zone PPMs and subscription docs. My apologies. The time of this actually got changed to 2 p.m. Eastern time. This is an old screenshot. Ashley Tyson was the previous masterclass. I kind of broke down a very small part of his presentation when I talked about that opportunity zone structure with the ovals and the triangles. That was, the 5-minute version of Ashley Tyson's very in-depth presentation on how to structure OZ deals. All of our masterclasses are recorded and they're available on demand at any time for our members, but it's great to be able to join live. But if you join today and you missed the previous 2, you can watch them instantly. And you'll be able to participate in our upcoming one live with Andrew Daup on Monday. 2 more upcoming classes we have scheduled. The February masterclass will be all about the OZ legislation inside Capitol Hill, what's going on behind the scenes. Our man on the ground there is Shay Hawkins from the Opportunity Funds Association. He's going to give a breakdown on what's happening with OZ legislation. Will it get extended? What will it look like if it does get extended, and so on. And then I'm going to be presenting a masterclass in March on how to raise Opportunity Zone equity. So when you join OZ Insiders, you're going to get access to our Rolodex. You're going to get access to our live monthly masterclasses, but I just mentioned also you'll get on-demand access to our library of all previous masterclasses. So here's 2 of our previous masterclasses, Structuring Opportunity Zone Deals from December, and then our masterclass in November was Tax-Free Capital Gains, which painted a picture of how QOFs kind of work within the broader context of tax-free capital gain structures. Michael Johnston, our colleague at Tax Efficient Investor, broke down other programs, QOFs for one, but also he talked about qualified small business stock, 1031s, and a handful of other structures that I learned a lot from that one. That was cool. We also give you the deck from all these presentations as well once they're in the on-demand library. So you'll get access to our Rolodex. You're going to get access to our live monthly masterclasses. You're going to get an on-demand library of previous masterclasses and the decks. It doesn't even say that, but the decks are available for download. In addition to that, you're going to get 24/7 access to our private chat group. That's right. We're a community. So we're not just a website that you get to visit and just look at, but you want to be able to participate with other experts, other members in the community. So we have a private chat group, which we host on the Slack app. It's a mobile app. It's also a desktop app. It's also just a web app. If you don't want to download anything on your phone or computer, you can just access it on the website. But this is a great way for all of our members to kind of stay in touch. With a screenshot from a while back. This was back in when we first launched the Slack apps. This is mid-November, right after I got back from the Novogradac Opportunity Zone Summit. This was actually early November. I think it was November 1st. Some of this message here. And there's a picture of me and Ashley Tyson from behind the scenes. Our member, John Vachon, snapped that one. And I was the one who ended up uploading it and throwing it up to the group. But that's me and Ashley behind the scenes recording the latest episode of the Opportunity Zones podcast live on site. So there's a lot of best practices shared there, some ideas, some questions that get answered, like, hey, what's going on in Puerto Rico? Hey, here's a list of a bunch of real estate transactions that have been conducted in Opportunity Zones. Our members share back and forth a lot of different information. It's not just driven by me. I'm in there, obviously. Andy is in there as well. We're here to answer your questions, but it's a lot of the chatter between different members that's really valuable there. So when you join OZ Insiders, you're gonna get access to our Rolodex. You're going to get live monthly masterclasses. Part of that is, I basically taught a mini masterclass today on investing in OZ deals in 2024, very small, condensed version. Our live monthly masterclasses go into more detail, more in depth. You're going to get access to the on-demand library of all previous masterclasses. You're going to get access to that private chat group on the Slack app. But you're also going to get invitation to our private in-person events. We're going to do at least 2, maybe 3 in-person dinners in 2024. Our first dinner is going to be in Dallas on March 11th. We're likely to do one in Chicago in late spring or early summer. And then if all goes according to plan, we'll likely do a third one in the fall. But we haven't firmed up the details of that one just yet. But for sure, the first one's going to be March 11th in Dallas. That's on our website. If you go to OZ Insiders and hit the calendar, ozinsiders.com, hit the calendar link, you'll kind of see all of our upcoming stuff. Total value of all this, we priced it. I think this is kind of conservative. Total value is $27,800. Now, obviously, I'm not going to charge you $27,000 today. But I want to ask you some questions. If all OZ Insiders did was give you access to our Rolodex, just all those connections I've built up over the years, if I'm able to just plug you in with the 1 key or 2 key people, 1 key person or 2 key people that you need to get connected to, would it be worth it? If all I did was provide you with invitations to our in-person meetings, got you in the room with other professionals and high-performing executives within the Opportunity Zone space, would it be worth it? If all OZ Insiders did was just simply give you the highest quality educational content in our industry, a little bit more of what I presented today, would it be worth it? I'm inviting you to get started now. Check us out, ozinsiders.com. Again, conservatively estimated as a $27,800 total value. We're offering it right now for $299 per month. I think it's a steal of a deal. And if all it did was just any one of those 3 things, I think it's well worth it. Again, I told you I wasn't going to charge you $27,000, only $299 a month. But wait, there's more. We're going to give you a 60-day money-back guarantee. So I recognize that OZ Insiders isn't for everyone. And maybe you need to kind of try it for a few weeks. And maybe you decide it's not for you. I totally get that. Maybe your situation changes within the next 30 days. Or maybe you decide, this isn't quite for me. I'm totally fine with that. And in fact, we've had, we've had about 30 members join. We've had, I think, 2 of them cancel on us, just being fully transparent here. And I just say, hey, that's fine. Thanks for giving us a try. Here's your money back. No questions asked, and send them on their way. But most people stick. But I understand that, every 100 people that join, we might have 5 or 10 of them who end up deciding it's not quite for them. And that's fine. So if within any point in time in the first 60 days that you're a member, it's not for you and you want your money back, we're going to give you all your money back and send you on your way. No questions asked. That's pretty much self-explanatory. So again, just to kind of recap everything, when you join OZ Insiders, and you can do so right now by heading over to ozinsiders.com, you're going to get access to our Rolodex. You're going to get our live monthly masterclasses, basically a more expansive version of that mini class I taught earlier today on how to invest in OZ deals in 2024. You're going to get access to our on-demand library of all of our previous masterclasses and be able to download the decks. You're going to get 24/7 access to our private chat group on the Slack app, and you're going to get invitations to our private in-person members-only events. First event will be a dinner at a nice steakhouse in Dallas, March 11th. We're still firming up the plans. You can refer to our calendar, ozinsiders.com. Hit the calendar link to learn more about that. Total value, $27,800. So there's what you're going to get. $299 a month. That's all we ask. You get the 60-day, no questions asked money-back guarantee. You can get started now by heading over to ozinsiders.com or scan the QR code on your screen if you're watching us. That'll take you right there. And there's a recap of everything that you're going to get. Get started now, ozinsiders.com. It's just $299 per month. By the way, we do have a year-long plan as well. If you want to commit for a full year, you can save, I think it's, what does it say, 15% or so, 17%. It's $29.99 for the year. And the 60-day no questions asked money back guarantee applies to that plan as well. You join for the year, you say it's not for you, we'll give you your money back. So far, our members have been pretty satisfied though. So that's it. That is what we are offering today. Let me see if we have any questions. Where are we with our time? Also, where did my watch go? Andy, how are we doing on time? There it is. Got about 4 or 5 minutes left, I think, to address any questions that anybody might have. If anybody does have any questions. Oh, I did have a question here that I just got. It asks, when does the, what does that say? When do the masterclass recordings get put up on the website? Okay, great question. So the masterclass recordings typically get put on the website. If not later that day, then by the next day, certainly within 24 hours, we have that recording up and running on the website. They are always hosted on the first Monday. No, I'm sorry. They're always hosted on the second Monday of every month, typically at 3 p.m. Eastern time. The one this upcoming month, next week, is actually at 2 p.m. Eastern time. And I just had a question. Hey, one more time, Jimmy, when and what is the next masterclass? Great question. Let's back it up a little bit. The next masterclass is going to be, and actually, I'm just going to stop my screen share because the slide there was actually incorrect. So I'm going to stop the share and I'm going to pull up a different window to share with everybody right now. So give me just a second here to pull that up. I'm going to share this screen right here is live TV, folks. Thanks for bearing with me. Here's a little behind the scenes sneak peek at the dashboard, by the way. So I'm logged in right now as a member of OZ Insiders. Here's Andy Hagens, co-founder of OZ Insiders, with his welcome address here to new members. And then here's the on-demand masterclasses that we have. We also have a roster and then some account management. The calendar, if you click up there, though, it'll take you to our list of upcoming masterclasses. So our next one, great question, is Monday, this upcoming Monday, January 8th. It'll be at 2 p.m. Eastern time. The title is Opportunity Zone PPMs and Subscription Docs. So it takes that, if you are an operator who wants to be raising equity from outside investors, and you're setting up your own qualified opportunity fund, and you have a deal that you need to deploy capital into, but you need a way to take that equity, bring in that equity from outside investors, this class is for you. Opportunity Zone PPMs and Subscription Docs. Andrew Daup's going to outline exactly. In fact, I think it's going to be in the format of a case study, where we present him with a example Opportunity Zone deal, and Andrew's going to show us exactly how he's going to set up that private placement memorandum, which is what PPM stands for, and the subscription docs that can go with it in order for it to qualify legally as a security, and to enable that GP or that fund operator to raise equity from outside investors. Let's see. We've got a few questions here that came in. Sue is asking, how do I enroll at the yearly rate? The link seems to only show the monthly option. So great question. Let me log out here, actually, and see if I can. Yeah, let's log out. Why not? Okay, so I'm logged out now. So if you go to ozinsiders.com and scroll down here, we've got a monthly membership at $2.99 per month. You can click here to join that. And on the right side here, annual membership, you can save 17% by joining annually. And if you click this link here under annual member, that'll take you to the annual checkout page, which is $29.99 per year. So those are your two options there. Great question, Sue. And I see Andy just chimed in with the direct link as well. John asks, I missed the first part of this presentation. Will they be able to get a copy of the decks? John, yes, I will get you a copy of the deck. Can you send? Let me think about that. I don't think we had a plan in place to get the copy of this one out to everybody. You know what? I'm just gonna do it though. I'm gonna send an email to everybody who registered for today's webinar. I will send a link to the deck. I don't have it uploaded anywhere in particular just yet, but I'll make sure that we get that out to everybody later today. I don't see any other questions. So going once, going twice, last chance, last call for any questions. I did say that I thought we could wrap this up in about 45 minutes. And I think we're about at 45 minutes or so. So thank you, everybody, for joining today. I hope you learned a little bit about how to invest in Opportunity Zone deals in 2024 and some of the key dates and deadlines for OZ investors to consider in 2024, whether you are going to be an LP in someone else's fund with a capital gain you generated toward the end of last year, or that you're going to generate this year, or if you want to set up your own QOF and self-fund it, or set up a QOF that you want to bring outside OZ equity into. I hope today's presentation was enlightening for you. This is basically just a very small, really shallower version, I would say, of the master classes that we do once a month at OZ Insiders. So I really hope that you enjoyed this. And if you think OZ Insiders might be for you, I would encourage you to join. Head over to ozinsiders.com, scroll down here, and then you can join at the monthly membership level or the annual membership level. This is all we do basically in OZ Insiders, is teach stuff just like this. And then it's also a great community of other high-performing Opportunity Zone investors and professionals. It's a mastermind group. It really is a mastermind group, because it's not just me organizing all the material. It's everybody inside the group. That the collective knowledge in there is unbelievable. So again, I'll let everybody go now. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.